Look at that, my bed's made. Wow. Wow. Okay, but today we're gonna watch wrestling. Or WWE has a huge Cody Rhodes problem.
Alright, let's get right into it. WWE has backed them. WWE has backed themselves into a corner with Cody Rhodes, and the uncomfortable truth is that the company refuses to acknowledge what everyone can see happening in real time. The Cody Rhodes championship reign has become a textbook example of how winning the big one doesn't automatically translate into sustained success, and more importantly, how a company can misread their audience so badly that they turn what should be their top asset into a liability. The American Nightmare finished his story at WrestleMania 40, defeating Roman Reigns in a moment that should have catapulted him into the stratosphere as the face of the company. Instead, what followed has been months of treading water, generic feuds, and a growing sense among fans that they're being forced to accept something they don't actually want. The problem started almost immediately after WrestleMania. Cody's first feud as champion was with AJ Styles, a program that felt recycled and lacked any real heat. AJ turned heel specifically for this feud, but the turn felt manufactured rather than organic. They worked multiple matches, including at Backlash France and Clash at the Castle, and while the matches were technically sound, they generated minimal buzz. The storytelling was paint by numbers. Veteran challenger questions champion's worthiness, gets a shot, loses, shakes hands, or doesn't, move on. There was no personal animosity that made fans desperate to see the payoff. It was professional wrestling going through the motions, and fans could feel it. Then came the Kevin Owens feud, which somehow managed to be even more disappointing despite having more history.
The Kevin Owens feud was not boring. It was great. The ladder match, absolutely fucking amazing. Match of the year contender, honestly. Up there with Sammy Kid too. So go fuck yourself.
To draw from. Owens and Cody were supposed to be best friends, tag team partners who trusted each other implicitly. The betrayal should have been devastating. Instead, it felt like WWE was checking a box on their storytelling bingo card. Owens turned on Cody, they had their matches, and the entire program felt like it existed because the calendar said it was time for Cody's next defense, rather than because there was a burning story to tell. The matches at Bash in Berlin were fine, but fine isn't good enough when you're supposed to be carrying the company as world champion. What makes this situation particularly frustrating is that WWE has other performers who are generating genuine organic reactions and creating compelling television, yet they continue to position Cody as the unquestioned top guy, despite evidence that fans are cooling on him. Drew McIntyre's heel turn and subsequent run has been some of the best character work in the entire company. His promos are dripping with legitimate frustration and bitterness. His anger feels real because it is real. Drew has been with WWE for years, left, rebuilt himself, came back, and has consistently delivered yet never gotten the sustained main event push that his talent deserves. When he talks about being overlooked and underappreciated, fans believe him because they've watched it happen. His feud with CM Punk has been personal and intense, built on real animosity and real history. The bracelet story with Punk's wife and dog added layers that made people genuinely invested in seeing these two destroy each other. The Saturday night's main event match between Cody and Drew was a perfect encapsulation of WWE's Cody problem. Going into that match, a significant portion of the audience wanted Drew to win, not because they hate Cody necessarily, but because Drew's character work had been so superior that people were more invested in seeing him succeed. Drew had momentum, Drew had a compelling reason to want the title, and Drew was cutting promos that made people care. Cody, by comparison, has been doing generic babyface champion promos about fighting anyone anywhere and representing the company with honor. It's noble, but it's boring. When your heel challenger is generating more genuine interest than your babyface champion, you have a fundamental problem with your booking structure. The match itself was good from a work rate perspective because both guys are talented professionals, but the outcome was never in doubt. Cody won clean, retained his title, and WWE continued down the path they've chosen, regardless of whether the audience is actually on board with that path. The problem isn't that Cody won necessarily, it's that WWE seems completely disinterested in acknowledging that their plan isn't working the way they thought it would. They finished Cody's story, he won the title, and now they're acting like the work is done, and he can just coast on that WrestleMania moment indefinitely. Another major issue is the lack of character development or evolution. Cody is essentially the same character now that he was when he returned to WWE. He's the guy fighting for his legacy, fighting for his father's memory, fighting to prove himself. That story was compelling when it was building to something, when there was a mountain to climb and a dragon to slay in Roman Reigns. Now that he's reached the summit, he's just kind of standing there waving at people. There's no new dimension to his character, no interesting internal conflict, no growth. He's a video game character stuck in an animation loop, going through the same motions repeatedly. Compare that to someone like Gunther, whose Intercontinental Championship reign told a story of dominance and evolution. Gunther started as a monster destroyer and gradually showed more dimension, more personality, more reason for fans to care beyond just his ability to chop people really hard. His reign built to something and meant something. Cody's reign feels like it's happening because WWE needs someone to hold the belt between major story beats. The booking philosophy around Cody has been particularly frustrating. WWE has positioned him as the fighting champion who will defend against anyone, which sounds good on paper, but in practice has resulted in a series of feuds that feel interchangeable. There's no escalation, no sense that each challenge is more dangerous than the last, or that Cody is being tested in new ways. He wrestles different opponents, but the template is the same. Challenger emerges, challenger talks some trash, they have a match, Cody wins, move to the next person. It's a formula that works for a mid-card title where you're establishing the champion's credibility, but for the World Championship, it makes everything feel small and inconsequential. The title should feel like the most important thing in the company. The pride.
If it's a real voice, but it sounds bad sometimes.
Is that everyone is desperate to obtain, the accomplishment that changes careers. Instead, it feels like a prop that Cody carries around while having nice matches with various people on the roster. The comparison to Roman Reigns' title reign is instructive because it highlights everything Cody's reign is lacking. Roman's run was built on a clear hierarchy, meaningful defenses against opponents who felt like legitimate threats, and ongoing character development. Whether fans loved or hated Roman, they cared about what he was doing. His matches felt important. When someone challenged him, there was genuine doubt about whether he might actually lose because WWE had built him as beatable, but incredibly difficult to beat. The Tribal Chief character evolved over time, showing different facets and keeping things fresh even as he held the title for over 1,000 days. Cody, by comparison, has been static. His character hasn't evolved, his feuds haven't built on each other in meaningful ways, and fans are starting to check out because they've seen this movie before and they know how it ends. Logan Paul's challenge to Cody at King and Queen of the Ring in Saudi Arabia was another example of WWE's booking problems. Logan is a legitimate celebrity with mainstream appeal, but his involvement felt like a sideshow rather than a serious title program. The match was entertaining in the way Logan's matches usually are, full of spectacle and creative spots, but it didn't feel like a genuine threat to Cody's reign. It felt like WWE booking a match that would get attention on social media and generate some headlines, which is fine for what it was, but it's not the kind of storytelling that builds long-term investment in your world champion. Fans want to believe that the title could change hands, that the champion is in actual danger, when the outcome is predetermined not just in the kayfabe-breaking way that all wrestling is predetermined, but in the sense that nobody believes the celebrity part-timer is actually winning the belt. Then the match becomes an exhibition rather than a meaningful chapter in the champion's story. The Solo Sikoa feud and the Bloodline drama should have been Cody's chance to get back into a meaningful program with real stakes. The Bloodline had been the dominant faction in WWE for years, and Cody's connection to that story through his WrestleMania victory over Roman made Solo's challenge feel like it should matter. But even that feud has felt somewhat flat because Solo, while talented, doesn't have the aura that Roman had. He's leading a Bloodline without Roman Reigns, which is like being the lead singer of a band after the iconic frontman left. The comparison is inevitable and unfavorable. The matches with Solo have been solid, but they haven't generated the kind of heat or interest that a Bloodline-related feud should generate. It feels like WWE is running on fumes from the previous Bloodline story, rather than creating something new and compelling. Part of the problem is that Cody's entire WWE return was built around one specific goal, defeating Roman Reigns and winning the championship. That story was so well constructed and so emotionally resonant that it overshadowed everything else about his character. Fans were invested in the journey, the setback at WrestleMania 39 when he lost to Roman, the long road back, the involvement of The Rock, the drama around WrestleMania 40, and who would actually face Roman. All of that was compelling television that had people genuinely invested in the outcome. But once that story was told, once Cody achieved his goal, WWE didn't have a plan for what comes next. They were so focused on getting to the destination that they didn't think about what happens when you arrive. Cody won the title, and then WWE seemed surprised that simply having won the title wasn't enough to sustain interest indefinitely. The fan reaction has been gradually shifting in a way that should concern WWE. It's not that arenas are booing Cody out of the building, or that he's being rejected wholesale. It's more insidious than that. Fans are becoming indifferent. They cheer for him because he's the babyface champion, and that's what you're supposed to do, but there's no passion behind it. When Drew McIntyre comes out and cuts a promo about being sick of being overlooked, fans react with genuine emotion because they feel what he's saying. When Cody comes out and does his entrance and cuts his promo about defending the title with honor, fans fans react politely, but there's no fire there. Indifference is more dangerous than hatred, because you can work with hatred, you can turn hatred into drawing money. Indifference means people just don't care, and when people don't care about your world champion, you have a fundamental problem with your product. WWE's stubbornness in refusing to acknowledge or address this problem is making it worse. They keep booking Cody the same way, keep putting him in the same type of matches against different opponents, keep having him cut the same type of promos. They're hoping that if they just keep doing what they're doing, eventually fans will come around and embrace Cody as the top guy the way WWE wants them to embrace him. But that's not how wrestling works. Wrestling is a conversation between the performers and the audience. You can have your plan and your vision, but if the audience isn't responding the way you want them to respond, you have to adapt. You have to listen. WWE isn't listening. They're so committed to Cody as the face of the company that they're willing to ignore mounting evidence that fans want something different. What WWE needs to understand is that being champion is not the same as being over as champion. Cody is over in the sense that he's a known name and fans recognize him and generally like him, but he's not over as champion in the way that creates must-see television and makes people desperate to tune in each week to see what happens next. There's a difference between being accepted and being embraced. Fans have accepted Cody as champion because WWE tells them he's the champion, but they haven't fully embraced him in that role because WWE hasn't given them enough reason to. The booking has been too safe, too predictable, too formulaic. Great championship reigns require risk and unpredictability and the sense that anything could happen. Cody's reign has had none of that.
Solid points, but at the end of the day, they're just ruining him as a character. They either need to turn him heel or give him a worthy opponent. I'm not saying Drew isn't, but they need to pull the trigger in the best way. Alright, see you next time. Please subscribe.